Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for swinging by. I am super pumped with my guest today. I am super excited. You all know that I love talking about eliminating food waste. You know, I love talking about increasing consumption. I've got a group here today that is kicking ass, taking names, and I am thrilled that they are here. Please, everybody, give it up for my friend Grant Stafford, the co-CEO of SAVRpak. Welcome, dude. Welcome to the show.
I really do appreciate it, Todd. This is great for us, to be able to share with you what we're doing and have this discussion around food waste and all the amazing opportunities and things that are being done in the space.
Yeah, for sure, man. I am so fired up about this. I always say I'm as fired up as a spider monkey on Mountain Dew on this topic because we have to continue talking about it. You know, it's a huge, massive problem.
It is. And momentum is so much a part of this, right? Like this topic's been hinted at and glanced at for decades now. And it kind of feels like now we're getting a little bit about a momentum in this space with some really great players. I wouldn't call them competitors. I'd call them, compadres at this point for this. So, yeah.
Well, your solution, you know what? You guys are solution solvers. That's what it is. You're out solving. You're making solutions to solve a big problem, and I think it's fantastic. Before we get into this, because I have, let me look, 337,911 questions to ask you, so it's going to be a full show. But nonetheless, before we get started, tell everybody a little bit about your bio and your journey to this point, just so they get to know who you are a little bit. And then I'm diving deep, brother. I'm diving deep.
Yeah, well, I've always kind of considered myself a creative problem solver. I graduated from Art Center College of Design. I also dabbled a little bit over at Caltech. And then from there, we launched a company, with some friends at Caltech and, built that up. And I've done that a couple of times. And I think, what's always been captivating in my career is like, I love applying the science, but the design and creative problem solving to try and really make a difference. Right. And for the last, I'd say, 15 years, I've been in the food side, from appliances to, high tech stuff and SAVRpak really kind of captured, embodied everything I'd love to do, along with, something that can really make a global impact, that is meaningful. Right.
Right. Yeah. 100% agree. And I love what you guys are talking about. You're eliminating waste, one carton, one shipment, one meal, one bouquet at a time. And I love that because that's that wide approach saying, hey, look, it is just not one part of food waste that needs to be looked at. It's all of it that needs to be looked at because it all intertwines together. And I think that's so great about what you guys are trying to do. And I'm looking forward to getting deep into it. Before we do it, let's frame up for everybody a little bit so they have a clear understanding. And I know the folks that listen to my broadcast, and I talk about this all the time. They're going to, I throw these stats out all the time because I think we have to keep banging them home. But how big of a problem is food waste in the United States?
I mean, the number that is being kicked around from a monetary side is just astronomical. It's in the trillions. Yeah. Right. But if you get back down to the nuts and bolts, like just the individual, if you look at the different buckets that, waste can happen, it happens in the farms, right, in the growing side, and that's in the 20s, right? And you get to the commercial side and it's in the 30s and 40s, and you get at the home, and it's back up to the 40s, almost 50% waste. So it's significant, right? Like
it's unreal.
It's something that, if you're running a factory, right, you would be like putting all your resources into fixing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I 100%. I'll give you a stat that I throw out to people all the time because I think it kind of puts it into, a little bit more of like a reality perspective. The food waste in the United States is the equivalent of every single American throwing away 650 small to medium sized apples at the same time.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the stat that we used was just over $2,000 annually. But that number now is defunct with all the increases that we're seeing in our day-to-day lives. And I think we're also seeing consumers like almost get to the point where they're so exhausted they're even willing to throw more money at it to even fix the problem. Right.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, it's fascinating to me when you start thinking about it, and then you tie in food waste and all this to global hunger. And you talk about all these other things, all these millions and billions of people that are coming to the planet. We got to solve some of these big problems. And these are really, really big problems. Food waste is not a little tiny problem. To your point, it's trillions of dollars. Take a look at that 650 apples times 330 million people. You got to turn your iPhone sideways to get that number to come across the screen because it's so big, right? It's crazy. So let's talk a little bit about SAVRpak and what you guys are doing, right? What is the problem that you guys, really are trying to solve?
it really comes down to the fundamental issue of decay, right? What causes decay? Doesn't matter if it's hot food. It's just kind of the natural process of what's happening, right? And that's humidity.
Right.
And I think that's the nuance that we bring, to our category is we're leveraging, physics and the controlling of humidity, right, to slow decay. But more importantly, the things that matter, right, is preserve, freshness, crispness, all those things that are sensory to us that why we make food, why we grow food, we want to be able to consume it, right? And I think for us, like, we're in two categories right now. We're in the hot food category, or commercial food service, where we're helping restaurants preserve restaurant quality food all the way to the door, right, or to the dining table, right? And then the category that we just launched within is produce, right? How do we take the product that farmers put their heart and soul into and preserve that for the entire length of the supply chain, right? And that supply chain actually ends at your table. So it's in your refrigerator. How do we preserve the food even from opening the package the first time through the life of using the product, right? So it's quite a dynamic, I guess, breadth of applications that we have. Which I think gets me even more excited, because the global impact that we can make is not just like a singular point. It's actually quite a broad spectrum of opportunities.
For sure it is.
Right?
Yeah, for sure it is. I mean, and I'll talk about that a little bit. I'm going to get it deeper into pros. I'm going to get into the food service side of it too. But I always ask companies like yourselves, these young companies with these big ideas that are kicking ass, doing stuff like you're doing, where does this idea come from? Because I don't think you roll over on a Tuesday and get a cup of coffee and go, hey, guess what? I'm going to make this little drop-in deal. We're going to solve the food waste. I mean, so seriously, I mean, in all jest though, but where did the idea come from?
I have to give 100% of that credit to my partner and one of our founders. There's three of us that are founders. It's Bill Bergen. He's our rocket science in residence, right?
Yeah, he's a NASA. Isn't he a NASA guy?
He's worked on all sorts of space shuttle stuff to, the largest plane in the world. Like he's, you name it. He's probably had some of his fingerprints on that vehicle. So he really solved this problem for himself, right? And it goes back to, one of those fundamental, great things as an entrepreneur is no better place than starting your own garage and solving your own problems. And really he solved it for himself and his dissatisfaction with his lunch when it came to eating it. And really at the end of the day, he's like, I can solve this. I have all the tools, I know I'm an expert in thermodynamics, which we can talk about a little bit later, but I can, and he sat down and solved the problem. So it's quite, I guess it's the honesty of where the problem came from and just the eloquent, right, solution that he came up with. And then, we had worked with him in the past on some other projects, and he came to my other partner, Greg Maselli, and myself and said, hey, can you guys help me commercialize this? I have no idea, how we can make this, but, I really just need some help. And it was just, more of the honest friends helping friends kind of thing. And that's really how we created SAVRpak. Right.
I love it. I love that. And I love the fact that it's this idea and it's like, okay, now I need help. I have this brilliant idea, but it's like, okay, now I need help. I love that. I mean, and that's how all the great ones go, man. It's just, you find that core group, those people that are purpose driven with you, and you all jump in that life raft, you start paddling, go leap of faith. Here we go. And now look at you guys. And before I ask this next question, I want to frame this up a little bit so people get a clear understanding of how much you guys are making an impact. You guys have received Time Magazine's Best Inventions of 2021. You're a World Food Innovation Award winner, Sustainable Packaging finalist, the Yield Lab Institute winners. You won a deal with P&G, if I'm not mistaken, at the Consumer Electronics Show. You guys won this. You guys are already in the, in the fast track, lane one, swimming the fastest, setting world records, based upon what people are seeing you guys are doing right now. So it's super exciting, like I said, to have you guys here. So let's just get to the $1,000 question. What is SAVRpak?
Thanks for joining the Todd-versation. And now, a word from our sponsor.
Hi, I'm Karen Nardotza, President and CEO of Moxie Marketing. On behalf of all the Moxers worldwide, thanks for listening to Todd-versations and Todd-Bits. At Moxie, we're known for strategic marketing and PR, unique branding and packaging, award-winning web and graphic design, and trade show experiences that generate results. Whether you're selling B2B or B2C, a farmer, processor, commodity board, retailer, food service, or somewhere else on the supply chain, we make it easier to grow your brand and your business. From avocados to zucchini and petunias to protein, we help you tell your story, stand out, and achieve your goals. Get Moxie, and together we'll celebrate your success.
SAVRpak is more of the mission than the actual product, right? Our product is a vehicle, right? Our product is the vehicle to actually solve a big problem, right? We believe that food should be kept fresh, wholesome, and good as long as possible, right? So our mission, right, is to build, how do we turn ordinary transportation and, let's say capsules, which let's say packaging in that aspect, into time machines, right? Where we can preserve food for as long as possible to keep it edible and as fresh as possible.
Time machine. I freaking love that. You guys are making a food time machine. I absolutely love it. So let's get a little bit to it. I got a two-part question for you. First of all, tell me a little bit about the drop-in solution, what it is, and explain to folks what it is. I actually got one behind me on the screen right here.
Excellent.
And then let's tie in a little bit, if you wouldn't mind, talk about that, but then talk a little bit about thermodynamics. I think it'd be a great time to blend that together and give everybody that little feel, and then we'll rock from there.
Okay. Well, so let me back up a little bit. So the product itself, right? We wanted something, we have basically some science, right? Some knowledge, some know-how, and some very interesting tricks in physics. And the embodiment of that, we wanted something that would easily be deployed, either be in a field, a warehouse, a restaurant, or a home, right? And we want it to be economical, meaning cost pennies. We also, the third thing, right, which is most important, right, is we didn't want to make a negative impact on the world, right? So how do we build something that in time could disappear, right? So all of those, that's really why I fell in love with SAVRpak, is it really gave you an opportunity to build a product that was meaningful, impactful, but also disappeared. And I think the drop-in, which you are hiding right now.
I'm hiding.
Right, is the perfect embodiment of what we do in the produce space, right? It's very low impact, no capital expenditure from a farm. You don't need and there's no flavor profile, there's no instruction manual. You just drop it in, and that's why we kind of name our products to the around the actual physical. What do you need to do with it? Well, you just need to drop it in, and what does it do? It gives you 10 days or more of shelf life out of your produce, right? Your delicate produce is kind of what we affect, and the unique space that we're in, right, is those items. We're not coating them, we're not altering them, we're not affecting them with chemicals. We're leveraging physics, right? And that physics that we're taking advantage of is really dew point, which is a subset of the thermodynamics that you talked about. Right. Thermodynamics really is how does temperature affect energy, right? And that energy could be mechanical, it could be electrical, it could be all sorts of things, right? So the unique technology that we have, right, is really like, how do we leverage this thermodynamic, this dew point temperature, to help control the atmosphere? So our technology, we coined the phrase as ACT, SAVRpak ACT technology. That's atmospheric control and transmission. And through that, we're able to keep food fresher longer. I mean, basically preserve an environment that promotes health of the leafy greens and produce that we're in the container with.
Right. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And I want to get into that. I want to dive into both sectors here. But what's it actually made of? Is it,
it's rocket science. It's water, it's plant pulp, it's relatively simple. And that's, again, that goes into why I got so excited about this product is we're not altering, we're not doing any, it's not chemically binding, it's not changing the food. We literally are just leveraging the differences in temperature to control humidity, thus reducing, free moisture and microbial growth, all the things that accelerate decay, right? And that decay, right? That's a really simple thing that we're trying to do, is make things decay slower, right?
I love it. Well, you're working with Mother Nature, not against her, and I love that.
We are
right?
leveraging Mother Nature. Yeah, she's our friend at this point.
Yeah, I love that. And when you look at some of these things that are out there in the ag tech space and what's going on, some of these guys try to play Mother Nature as opposed to work with Mother Nature. And I think that part's dangerous. I think when you're working with her and you come alongside your point, use some plant pulp, different things that are there, I think it's incredibly powerful. So let's talk a little bit for our produce friends a little bit. How does the supply to produce?
So we're more on the delicate produce side. So like berries, leafy greens, we're doing stuff in the exotic fruit area. These are items that tend to be very fragile, right? And they're most susceptible to cold chain breaks, right? Cold chain break is, can happen at a warehouse, can happen, between a truck and a refrigerator. Like they happen all the time and they're very frequent. Well, that change in temperature is what we're trying to control, right? Because it accelerates respiration, accelerates humidity, accelerates things that promote decay. And by us being in there and acting as, the hall monitor, right? And saying, no, we got control of this. And we're just actually, preserving the food a little bit longer and keeping it more crisp, all the things that are sensory that are important to us.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things I think is really, really cool is that you're really one of the first that have leaned into leafy greens. And, that is a really big problem for these guys, clamshell world that these folks live in, and berries as well. I mean, you've got two really fragile items, for lack of a better word, that are out there. So, how have the growers received this? I mean, they've got to be like, holy crap, we've got a solution here that's making a difference. Can you touch a little bit about that, or maybe some feedback from the growing side?
Yeah, I mean, that's where a large part of our development is really done with these growers hand in hand, right? To understand their problems. We have some really fantastic partners, very large partners that, go from small scale farms to, full automated factories. And in that aspect, they all feel the pains of supply chain, right? And the impacts of that on basically the bottom line, right? The margins. And with our product, they're able to preserve those margins because they're able to deliver a better yield, right? Meaning, instead of, 80% of a truckload, they're getting, 90 or above. And I think that's the real power is we have an item that, fits into the economics. The purpose of the business is so you can sell more and all that stuff. And then, we're helping them really expand their business, right? And most of the farmers that we're in relationships with are looking to, how do I improve our margins and by improving their yield, but get their product further, but dealing with the limitations of logistics and transportation, because it's a difficult subject right now.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Well, there's so much pressure, there's so much pressure put on the growers today, and quite frankly, far too much, to try to figure out how to get cheaper, how to do this, how to be more efficient, blah, 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 as opposed to what I believe is we need to have a conversation about the positive costs that are associated with food. Why, getting food cheap isn't necessarily the right answer. When you guys are really taking, I think, that kind of narrative to a next level, because you really are representing these guys that are stuck in a position of trying to find ways, right? Because that's what the retail community and consumer community has been told that they need to be, is cheap, right? And you guys are finding a way to try to elevate that and give these guys a fair chance and a runway to survive and to get rid of some of these major problems. So I think it's great, especially this leafy green stuff. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, but you're also seeing a lot of more collaboration on all levels of the supply chain. So you have retailers like, in the last few weeks, I've talked to many retailers that actually are coming to us saying, how can we help our producers or our growers, right, keep their food fresher longer? And so I think that's the importance about the time that we're in. It's not just one party pushing the initiative, right? It's all parties. It's consumers, it's retailers, it's restaurateurs, and it's growers, right? So when you have all those parties fitting in, like, I think, with all that, you're going to find solutions. And we have partners in Colombia, we have partners in Mexico, we have partners in US, and we are really working through not just the growers, but all stakeholders, right? So
I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. Now, is this stuff? Can you use this with organic produce too? I'm assuming you can.
100%. Yeah. No, it's really a piece of packaging if you really get down to how is it classified. So we're 100%. I guess we fall within the FDA, safe for food contact, memorandum. And so we are not emitting or doing anything to alter or coat the food. I mean, that's like a big thing that, as part of our education, with new customers is like, we're not touching your food, we're just breathing and cleaning and scrubbing the air, that atmospheric control transmission side that I talked about. Yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love it. It's so cool. And so I want to shift gears a little bit out of the produce space, because I think that when you talk about this food service, I'm just going to use it as a big broad term, but whether it's restaurant, delivery, this and that, I mean, you guys are solving, and I think everybody can relate to this, that's ever gone and got a burger and whatever and fries and gone home. You're solving the soggy French fry problem. Let's be honest, right? I mean, I hate to break it down, but it's like, it's part of what you guys are doing is making this experience exactly like you just had your food dropped in front of you at the restaurant, but it took you 30 minutes to get home. And, people get home and the food's looking rough, right? And it's not.
It's looking soggy.
Yeah, but they blame the restaurant. It's not the restaurant's fault, right? It's point A to point B is really the culprit. So I'd like to talk a little bit about what you guys are doing now. And if you wouldn't mind, I think it kind of leads into it. Talk about your partnership and what you guys have been doing with Cisco, because they have really stepped up and have turned into be, a great partner for you guys in working, to solve the problem that these, especially somebody like them, face every day with their clients.
Yeah, I mean, our first and foremost, our biggest partner, in launching the company was Cisco, or launching our market. And, they've been really, great partners in the sense of like, we're trying to build markets, right? We're market making, right? So there's a lot of education that has to go through, and, customer demos and all that kind of stuff that takes a significant amount of time. And they've been with us, basically, for a full year now, and we're nationally distributed through all the warehouses. They're out there day in, day out, pushing our product and talking about the benefits, and really focusing on, what we're all trying to do is deliver better food. Which, in the end of the day, like, that's the whole purpose of ordering, is you want to be able to consume the food that you ordered. And it's a significant challenge for a lot of restaurants, right? They're not only, worried about, keeping the customers they have, keeping the margins, all that stuff, but it's, they go into business to produce food, right? So, we feel that, that market is a very important market for us to kind of tackle the greater problem, right? Which is, how do we eliminate food waste by, preserving restaurant grade food and keeping it as high quality as possible through that delivery, window. So
absolutely. And the way it works too is you got a to-go container, and the drop in.
It's our peel and stick. No, it's our peel and stick. You just peel it, stick it.
Stick it, and you close it up and you're out. I mean, super simple, really easy. And I mean, I've looked, I've gone online, I've looked at what you guys are doing. I've seen some of the videos, some of the pictures. It's amazing what you guys have created and the difference that it's making. I mean, it's a really powerful tool.
Yeah. And it's only going to get more powerful, right? Like we're doing a ton of product development, right? And again, that bigger overall opportunity, which is how do we deliver restaurant quality at the home? And that goes into heat, it goes into food safety, it goes into, this moisture thing that we're tackling right now. So, expect to see a lot more great science, right? That's coming out from us, right?
I love it. Well, that's what it's about, right? It's about science. And I love it. I think it's great. One of the things that I found was really interesting that you guys are working on, and I want to touch upon this because I think it's a massive topic. I want to talk a little bit about mold and foodborne pathogens, Salmonella, E. coli, basically food cooties, for lack of a better word, throw them all into one big basket. But, what are you guys doing now to fight and protect, with these issues at SAVRpak?
Yeah. So the base hits that we're able to do today, right, is tackle microbial growth, in produce, right, by, eliminating free moisture and collecting, maintaining environments. On the hot food side, it's simple things like sealing containers and things like that can be done. We have some really exciting IP in development that really deals with the pathogens that you're talking about, the foodborne illnesses, which is like for us, it's a huge topic, but also a huge market that we are investing a lot into. But the market right now, it's like how it applies to produce, right? The word is traceability, right?
Right.
You know, traceability is quite expensive, right? It involves technology and involves like a huge amount of infrastructure, right? To really go from the discovery of a problem, which is pretty far down the supply chain, right? And then trace it back up to the source. And we're doing it the other way around, right? If we can be packaged and live with the food as early on as possible, we have the ability to identify, you know, problems, right? Things that could be harmful, right? And that's really what I think is nuance about what we're looking at is how do we find it as early as possible in the supply chain rather than trace it back in time. You know, I think you know, it's inevitable that the further the food or the product gets in a supply chain, the more it costs, right? And this goes back into the food waste side, right? You've invested a ton in getting it to that point in time, and God forbid it gets to the home or gets to, you know, beyond the shelf, right? So how do we help as a company identify early on of issues, right? And really in this space right now, there's just really expensive infrastructure that takes to identify these things early on. How do we help small farms, right, or remote farms, or, you know, just smaller producers that may not have those kind of resources? How do we deliver something to them for pennies, right, that can help them with their battle, or what's a better word there, but just eliminating those kinds of risks,
struggle
right?
Yeah, exactly. And struggle to survive, to be fair, right?
Yeah.
It's how, you know, we're losing farmers. We're not gaining enough farmers. So how do we help who's here get to, you know, keep producing food so we all have something to eat? I mean, that's going to be really important.
And to me, the bigger thing there, which, you know, is a bulk of our work, is how do you do that in lesser served communities? Yeah. Right. And that could be at a rural community or a inner city community in the United States. But, you know, how do we even do that in lesser served communities outside, you know, in South America or, you know, globally, right? And I think again, like that's the exciting thing about SAVRpak is we're looking at things from a global aspect, not just a singular market.
I love it. So big, you know, here's the big, you know, so stay tuned on the issues around pathogens, because that's, you know, to your point, you know, when it's amazing. There's some secret. Amazing. There's some things going on in the back room that are pretty exciting. So that's going to be exciting to watch come out over the next. So just the big, what's left in 2022. So what's next for you guys? I mean, what's on the horizon? I mean, we know that's kind of coming. Is there anything else exciting?
Yes,
besides,
I mean, there's
being on my broadcast, of course, being on this broadcast.
Well, this is in the top 10, right? Definitely, right. So
I'm gonna if I could hug you through Zoom, I would come hug you through Zoom if I could. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think it's more like the commercialization and getting through this market education curves and getting people more aware. Like, you know, we're making pushes into retail. We're making you know, and this is like with the consumer. We're also making pushes, you know, into retail with commercial suppliers of produce. So really, I think, you know, for this year, like produce is a big push, right? And then the other 50%, right, is going to be in the hot food. Like we have a lot of awesome stuff that's going to be coming out at the NRA show next month, which is the National Restaurant Association show in Chicago. You know, we have some partnerships that we're working on in that space. You know, we are like nonstop 24/7 working on tackling, you know, food waste in both of these verticals.
I love it. I love it. It's exciting. It really is. I'm thrilled for you guys. I love what you guys are doing. I'm glad that I had the opportunity to kind of peel back the onion per se and kind of dive into what you're about, because I think it's fantastic. I think that the mindset and trajectory you guys have is really refreshing. I think it's really about the big picture, not the small picture. You're looking at, you said earlier, just a few minutes ago, about that global presence. What can we do? What does it mean? What does it mean to the guy that nobody knows that's in Colombia that's farming, who is completely relevant to feeding people in this country, right? Yep. How do we help all that? I think it's fantastic. I'm excited for you guys. I hope folks stay tuned. You know, I really do appreciate you coming on and sharing with us. telling us a story. You know, you have an open invitation to come back as you guys are rolling. You know, come on, let's keep talking about it. You got a friend of me when you want to talk about eliminating food waste, increase consumption.
I think talking about it is what we need to do. Talk about more, you know, get more people fired up and educated in this space. I think, you know, there's a tremendous amount of opportunity, but there's a tremendous amount of problems to solve. You know, global, you know, supply of food is a global effort, right? And it's a global problem. So, you know, more hands on deck here, buddy.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I don't necessarily, you know, you make a really good point about being a global problem. And I think people need to recognize that, you know, the food supply is not what's in your grocery store. The food supply is a global thing, right? And we have to keep looking at it like that, because if the global issue gets out of hand, your grocery store is going to have a problem, right? So we have to be mindful of that. And these solutions like you guys are making at SAVRpak, I think is fantastic. So again, open invitation, come back, come hang with me. Love to do it. I'll see you down in the OC for a cocktail, I was told. And and
beer, buddy, beer. Yeah,
dude,
I'm good for a beer anytime.
I am your beer buddy. I told you we should have beers on this one. I told you we should have done it. So no, absolutely. I appreciate you being here. Thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it.
Todd, this has been great. Again, top 10 for the year. So appreciate the time.
I love it, brother. You're scoring more points. Now I got to buy beer after that. Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here, watching us. We appreciate it. Go check out SAVRpak. It's worthy. Let's go. That's why they're here, man. We got to uplift these things. We got to make this happen. We have to make a difference. And this is a company that's doing it for us. So like I tell you all the time, go inspire somebody. This is an inspiring company. Get on the website, check them out, call Grant. Go answer the emails. Let's get the ball rolling. Let's make a difference to this planet. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on social media, because that's where the cool kids are. That's where we are. Check us out, Todd-Versations, Todd-Bits. We're all over the place. We appreciate you. Take care. Bye, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody.